Hello, hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the end of April and beginning of May Q&A here on Step Into Love by Sophia Leitner-Hubert on Substack. I'm so happy to have you with me. Thank you so much, those of you who sent in questions. I'm really excited to respond. And thank you just for being here with me, for listening along. I don't know about you, but I really love to listen to like a longer form podcast while I'm doing something like the laundry or the dishes or driving somewhere, maybe running errands. So feel free to just put me on in the background this weekend, enjoy these questions, and please share this with anyone that you think would benefit from what I say here and what I share. So I have some really exciting, fun questions. I've got my phone here with the questions. I've got my tea, which I've spilled a little bit on my shirt, but it's okay. That'll dry. I've got beautiful tulips from my garden, fresh from my garden behind me, and we're celebrating Beltane. We're celebrating May Day, you know? It's a beautiful season, and it's a great time to focus on your neighbors, your relationships, your community, and a lot of the questions have to do with that, sort of this sense of community in our relationships. So let's get into it. I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Go ahead and settle in. And I'll start us with the first question. And my cat might jump on my lap, but she'll be along for the ride. She'll join us. So, the first question I have is on relationships and love. This person says, my boyfriend and I recently went through a weekend of multiple arguments. We resolved them, but it felt tough. How do you navigate conflict in relationships? I love this person, but I felt like I was mostly fighting with my own emotions and trying not to let them spill onto my partner. That's so relatable. And they did, like these emotions did spill onto my partner. Though they did, I'm grateful that he was emotionally mature, patient, and understanding with me. Okay, thank you for this question. Thank you for trusting me with it. It's so relatable, especially, you know, if at the beginning of relationships, any phase of our life likely, but especially during your 20s when you're still developing your prefrontal cortex, you're still growing and maturing a lot. I know personally I noticed a big difference in my relationships and my emotional response, after the age of 27 when my prefrontal cortex was fully formed. So give yourself grace for that. And it's really important, I want to acknowledge, it's important that you're aware of this. You're asking the right questions. You obviously care about this person and this relationship, and you care enough to deal with your emotions and resolve things with this person, and that's so valuable. I think it's important to point out that conflict is a natural part of human relationships. It does come up here and there, especially because we are each our own person. We have our own specific triggers. We have our own specific histories. Come on, girl. You can come sit in my lap. Come on. We each have our own histories, right? We have so much that we bring to the table. And I can really relate to this question because I've gone through it with my husband when we were dating, when we were engaged, and especially in the first year of our marriage, because you're getting to know each other. And when you take the view of you see these relationships, you see this conflict, and the way that you resolve your conflict each time, it's a chance for you to get closer. So that's something incredibly valuable about conflict, and I would always encourage you to frame it that way when you guys are resolving your conflicts, when you are going through like maybe a tough weekend. And that could be the result of so many things, it could be hormonal, it could be environmental, it could be that you're processing things from your past, it could be that you guys have something you're disagreeing on and you need to come to a new agreement, or a new agreement on at least how you talk to each other about this thing and how you relate to one another. I've definitely had emotional weekends where it felt like we were fighting, not at every turn, but a couple times, like multiple times a day, and it was always about something different and little and ultimately not important, but it came down to, like communication practices. Like, I felt triggered because you said this or that, or I feel like you're not understanding me or hearing me, or you don't see why this is important to me, or why this is triggered, or we're just disagreeing on things that, again, ultimately aren't like deal breakers. They aren't like, huge things. And I'm trying to think of examples now, but I just know we've had weekend conversations where it was like a Friday night argument about this thing, and then like a Saturday morning something else but similar, and then Saturday night, and then Sunday morning as well. And each time we work together to recognize the patterns of like what's happening and why one or both of us is getting elevated in response, is getting like angry or scared or fearful or raising our voice. And I always have to bring that awareness of myself to the table, and that's helpful. And he also brings his awareness of himself to the table. I think it's important in these relationship conflicts for one person at least to be willing to kind of be the adult in the situation if the other person is acting like their child self, which you are allowed to do sometimes in a safe space. But you might want to tell your partner, like, I'm sorry, that was like my childish reaction, that was a childhood trauma I'm dealing with, that was me processing feelings, and I shouldn't have gotten that angry. And then they can kind of be the adult a little bit, talk you down from it, and then you can also step in and self-parent yourself and become, again, your adult self again, and bring that awareness. But sometimes there's this temporary like lapse in expression where your subconscious mind is doing the operating and you are being your child self. And thank goodness we have supportive relationships to help us process that sort of thing happening. I have found that I have more triggers than my husband. He is very blessed. He has very few triggers that I've seen, and if he has any, I think he's mostly like a silent processor, so he doesn't process them aloud with me, whereas me, I'm very communicative, I'm talkative. That just tends to be how I am, so I often process with speaking with him and with myself, and then writing and going on a walk and movement and like talking to myself and talking to others. So there's just different modes of processing and thinking as well. We've even gotten down to the granular parts of talking about like, how do you think? And that might be an interesting conversation that you could have with your partner. Like, do you think in words? Do you think in images? Do you how do you think when these thoughts come through? How does the emotion come through your body? And how do you respond and intercept it in real time if that's something you need to do? I had one particularly bad, like, angry moment the first year of our marriage, and I had to coach myself and teach myself for like the whole weekend after that, where I was like, okay, no more of that. That's a pattern that you learned as a kid. It's not acceptable. It's not something that you want to do. You don't want to get that angry, right? I was like, that does not align with my beliefs and my priorities and how I want this relationship to go. And it doesn't align with me and my values. So I started coaching myself, like, if you feel that level of anger coming on, don't choose it. Choose to laugh. Choose to turn away. Choose to go on a walk. Choose to take time to yourself. Like, typically with relationships, I think it's important to turn towards and continue to turn towards each other and be communicative and share. And in general, like, I believe this turn towards, that's a huge, that's an action for me. That's like my primary mode of operating, right? It's turn towards. And I seek resolution fairly often, but there's also times where he's pointed out to me, and I've learned since, like, we don't need to resolve this immediately, and sometimes just giving it time and space for us both to process is really what's going to be most helpful. And so in that situation specifically, when I got angry, I was like, I do need to start adopting this other strategy sometimes. I often want to turn towards, and that's okay if that's my majority strategy, but I also have this strategy of turn away, turn the other cheek, take space if needed, go find time alone, cool off, process, and then come back in a more regulated state. And luckily it's not often that I get into those dysregulated states, but I'll just say it's normal if it does. We're humans, we have emotions, we have feelings, we have things that we're processing, there's stressors in our lives. So again, give yourself grace and consider what strategies you can use and when they serve you best. And I encourage you to talk that through with your partner and write it down. Like, when I feel this, I will do this. When I feel angry, if I feel this level of angry and I start feeling like I'm a tea kettle boiling over, I will turn away, I will go outside. If I just feel scared or slightly hurt, or maybe there's a misunderstanding, I may want to turn towards and talk about it. Another important thing that I find helps us a ton is employing touch and calming down and regulating together. So there's been, I would say, probably every argument we've had except for the one where I just kind of flew off the handle. Physical touch has worked to calm each other down. So I like to do that turn towards, put a hand on his arm, he puts his hand on mine. I say, like, let's sit down together. Let's take some deep breaths. That's really important. So bring in that physical self-regulation, those emotional techniques that you know work great for your body. Do the physiological side. Take that double inhale, that deep breath, and exhale together and be like, okay, let's calm down and talk about this from a more calm state, because when you're in that calmer state, it's much easier to express yourself and your feelings and what you're going through. But yeah, I totally understand if you sometimes feel like, oh, I've said something offensive to this person that I didn't really mean just because I was triggered, And so then you've got some shadow work and probably some writing and emotional processing to do. So I think I've said multiple things in this, but key strategies are regulating yourself and co-regulating with your partner, taking those deep breaths, writing down your strategies for turning towards and turning away, giving yourself grace at every step when this happens. When you're having conflicts like multiple times in a short time frame, you also have the options to be like, let's take some time to ourselves, or let's seek resolution, or let me write down about the patterns. There's so many options, and you could try like all of those strategies. I kind of have vacillated between all three and found that there's always rewards at the end, and that reward is that level of closeness and intimacy that builds in your relationship, because the more that you understand one another and understand each other's triggers, the better you are at communicating, and you set better grounds for communication. So write down and agree on your communication and say, like, of course there's room for these, none of this is set in stone, but these are our best practices. Like, we've talked about, let's establish touch, tell me to take a deep breath, and we're open to that sort of instruction because we're caring for one another. This sort of thing triggers me. This sort of thing might make me feel this way. And sometimes something comes up and I'm like, I didn't really love when you said that because it reminded me of something that my father said to me in the past that I didn't like, So like, be very honest about those things when you're ready to share that with your partner. This is a person that you love and trust. So those strategies, and the last one I will say in terms of the emotional processing that you want to do on your own, you have options. I personally love emotional freedom technique. It's something that I teach, and it's a key tool, a neuroscience-backed tool, and like a physical somatic tool for processing emotions. So if you have fear or anger coming up in relationships, I know when I've had some of these arguments with my husband, I'm tapping on those little triggers for the next couple days or sometimes weeks, and the emotion eventually is processed out of my body, and I feel so much relief from using EFT as a tool. So I encourage that. Meditation, hypnosis, journaling, prayer, spiritual guidance, coaching, therapy, couples therapy. You have so many options. And yeah, I'm just proud of you for, again, recognizing the patterns where they are, caring about your relationship, and like in your question you stated that you're grateful that he's emotionally mature and he was patient and understanding with you, and he pointed out some things to you, and that's great. And you're also emotionally mature to bring this question up and to be continuing to reflect on it, and just every step of the way your conflict resolution is getting better and better. And if it's not getting better and better, that might not be a relationship that ultimately serves you in the next season. But for now, I'm happy for you for the growth that you are experiencing through navigating these conflicts together. And I hope that that was a helpful answer to that question. Okay, that was a long one, the first one, but there's a lot of valuable stuff there. Okay, so let me move on to the second question. Okay, now we're in the subject of creative work and staying connected. Number 2, how do you remain hopeful about your art? Sometimes I wonder, am I beating a dead horse? I'm also a creator, though I don't love that term, content creator, and I don't feel drawn to using contrast extremes or strong opinions, and I worry people don't understand what I stand for. I haven't connected with my ideal audience yet, though I know they're out there. How do you stay hopeful, and how do you find and connect with your people? This is a great question. First of all, I don't know the etymology of beating a dead horse, and I'm just interested to get that out of the way before I answer the rest of the questions. So let me just do a quick Google search on that. Beating a dead horse or flogging a dead horse refers to wasting effort on a settled matter or repeating a point that has already been made. Originating in the mid-19th century, it implies trying to make a lifeless horse move. That's understood. But I'm like, who brought this up? Often credited to British politician John Bright, though its roots may stem from 17th century naval slang. John Bright used it to describe his efforts on parliamentary reform. Naval slang before it was common phrase dead horse referred to the first month of a voyage for which sailors were paid up front. Sailors often held a ceremony to flog a straw horse at the end of this month, signifying they were no longer working for free. Interesting. The idiom indicates that no amount of additional effort or discussion will change a situation that is already concluded. So, again, relatable. I can understand that sometimes content creation, sharing online, putting yourself out there, it can sometimes feel like you're beating a dead horse, but the truth is you're not. So changing your belief around that is very valuable and helpful. I remember sometime last fall, I went through this week where I noticed, because I studied neuro-linguistic programming, I was aware of this, but I started noticing that I was saying things in my mental state and in myself, in terms of running my business and being an entrepreneur. I was like, I feel like I'm treading water. And I kept using this phrase, treading water, like just working hard, kind of like up to here in it, like I was like, I just feel like slightly overwhelmed, I'm treading water. And I decided to shift that when one day I'd had enough, and I was like, I'm going to stop saying that, I'm going to turn it over to God, turn it over to divinity, and rely on my faith again and build my faith again, because I noticed that saying those words was kind of me denying my faith that everything will work out for me, right? So I replaced treading water with trusting in God, having faith, trusting in the process, giving it up to God, and that's now something I've incorporated in my morning activations, where at the end I say, like, I give up my concerns and fears to you, God. I place it in your hands. I give it to you, Earth. Take this energy and do what you want with it. Recycle it and send me back, beneficial energy that is meant to support me today and what I'm meant to achieve and guide me and protect me, So I love those sorts of prayers, and I encourage that sort of thing. I would encourage you to replace, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, with everything is working out for me as it is meant to. I trust and surrender to divine timing. I trust the process. I love the process of creating, especially if you identify as an artist, which we all are, and you identify as a creative. You can choose to use those terms instead of content creator. I also don't really like the term content creator because I feel like it's so much more than that. Like, we're sharing ourselves, we're sharing our art, we're sharing our brand, our identity. I'm genuinely connecting with people online and through these platforms. Like, I'm not just making content. That's what I feel like AI tools are doing, that they're just making like empty content. I'm sharing myself, So do the identity work of calling yourself an artist, a leader, a visionary, a magician, whatever term you like. I've written about on my Substack that I identify with the archetype of like being a fairy woman, and I like to lean into that archetype and do things to embody that and feel really connected to nature in that way. So this season I've gotten more into, like, again, my pinks and my browns, and there's flowers, and I'm just trying to spruce up my space and make everything feel in alignment with my mission, which is to serve people. You can also do a nice practice of writing out a purpose statement or making a list of the things you're passionate about and then drafting a purpose statement from that. And this can shift and evolve like every season. Honestly, I update my Substack about page probably like 2 or 3 times a year. And my purpose statement a few years ago was, and remains, how did it go? Sharing love through writing and relationship, or like creating love through writing and relationship. So that's still true. Love is still my guiding light, and it's what I love to experience and share. And I also really believe a similar purpose statement for me is like filling my own cup so that I can serve others in overflow. And I believe when we all fill our own cups, we, have overflow and abundance and gifts to give to others, and then can serve others better. So you might have multiple purpose statements, but I encourage you to focus on those things. And that's what keeps me hopeful, because when I share from this place of alignment and belief, and when I take the time, especially in the mornings, to do my morning activation, and recently I've gotten into scripting again. So I'll go outside with my journal and write a page of my dream future as if it's already happened, and really tap into the feelings of what I've accomplished, because the brain does not know the difference between an imagined reality and your actual physical reality. And the more that you tap into those feelings, the quicker it comes true. Like, the more likely and realistic your brain thinks it is, and the more that your reticular activating system will start finding those opportunities in your life for you. So I would encourage you, just keep doing your best and tell yourself every day, I tell myself this, like, I'm just doing my best. I'm doing the best that I can. I see other people online with hundreds of thousands of followers, and sometimes it can like feel discouraging because I'm like, why don't I have that yet? But that's just the mind comparing. That's a natural thing. And the truth is, we're all individuals. We are all unique. I'm so grateful for the leaders in my life, especially the women, other entrepreneurs, writers, and coaches that I know who I've spoken with, and they've encouraged me when I say those sorts of things, like, where's the growth, or my audience, I feel like I haven't found them yet. Similarly, like, I have a growing audience, but I just know there's more people out there I want to serve, specifically young women and teenagers and girls like college age, because I feel like I can really relate to and help that age group. Those are the people I've yet to and still want to connect with. And when I say that sort of thing, these other women in my life, these leaders who I admire so much, they say things, and I'll tell you, like, you have so much to offer. You are valuable. Everyone is unique. And what you can offer individually is different from what someone else can offer. So yes, there's a lot of voices out there, and thank goodness for that, and there's a lot of people doing valuable healing work, and whatever content you create or art that you share is not made less valuable by there being other people out there, because you're unique, you're an individual, you have your own specific story, your voice, your way that you share, and you will find the people that resonate with you. So just continue, keep going, trust, surrender the outcome to God, divinity, whatever you believe in, and I believe in all of that. Surrender the outcome and find ways to love the process. Because another thing my coach Sarah says that I have come to love is, she says, we're in the actions game, we're not in the outcome game. So you can control what you can control. You can control your actions, like sending the emails and reaching out to people and posting on Substack at least once a week and posting on Instagram as many times a week as you can. Like, I'm trying to do that. I don't know how people post 3 times a day. Maybe I'll get there eventually, but once a day, I'm like, I feel good. I'm being consistent. And yeah, once a week on Substack, like, just mark out some metrics for you that are achievable and stick to those. Give yourself grace if you need to change your schedule a bit, but then just hop back on that horse. So yeah, instead of beating a dead horse, you're hopping back on the horse. You're riding the horse to your desired destination. And this horse of your consistent action, your belief, your hope, your faith, that will carry you through to your destination. The other thing is, it's important to know what you want, because if you put something, let's say you're driving or riding a horse anywhere, you need a desired destination in mind, or your GPS can't take you there, your map can't really take you there if you don't tell it where you're starting and where you're going. So that's another helpful writing prompt for you. Like, I'm here right now. That's why I'm loving the journaling and scripting. Like, I write kind of every day. This was my day. I'm here now, and this is where I want to go. I want to go where I'm serving hundreds of thousands of women. I want to go where I have a best-selling book. I want to go where I'm a paid speaker. I want to go where I am sustaining myself and my family with my successful business. I want to go where I own and operate my own land. I own a farm and a garden. I want to go these places. And then what are you doing now? What small actions can you take now to support you in that? And that, like, gives me so much inspiration and so much hope. Because when I go out into my garden in the mornings, even though it's just a small little garden out front, I know that I'm like, this is me practicing and calling in what I want more of. Even though this is small scale, I'm so invigorated and inspired by this garden, and it gives me so much hope that this is something I have the capacity to grow and have, 10x that space in the future. So same thing with the writing. Like, I want a best-selling book. So what do? I write consistently. I publish on Substack. I want to serve people. I'm sharing online. I'm sharing in this way. I'm sharing with friends and community in person as well. I hope that's a helpful answer to that question as well. How do I remain hopeful in case, and how do you find and connect with your people? Yeah, I would just trust. I'm just checking back to make sure I answered all the parts of your question. Trust that things are working out. Put yourself out there. Do a mix of things, like start local, connect with people locally as well as online. I would encourage you not to get stuck in just one thing. You gotta try multiple strategies, and that's what I'm doing right now, like just a mix of strategies that is very helpful. So, and the people that are meant to work with you will find you, and I do believe that, and I see it happening in my life. It's a snowball effect, and it really does. It's picking up the more consistent that you are. So consistently doing what you're doing for more than 1 year. For me, it's started to snowball now that it's like been 2 years, honestly, and it'll be 2 years that I've owned and operated my business in July. So keep going, trust yourself, place your trust in divinity, and take those small daily actions that you can. track your daily actions, your monthly, quarterly actions, set new goals. That's so much fun stuff that I do and share on Substack, like annual goals, quarterly goals, and I provide monthly activations for readers and listeners as well, so that with each season we're like activating to our success for that season and really stepping into alignment with what each season holds. I guess the last part of your question was kind of about that you don't feel drawn to using contrast, extremes, or strong opinions. I relate, and I do see a lot of people doing that online, like kind of using inflammatory language to get attention, or there's a lot of polarity, right? And there's a lot of trying to spark anger to get attention, and that's normal. But if that's not normal, but like that is seen, I do see that online as well. So if it doesn't resonate with you, it's not something you have to do. It's not something that I do either, so let's connect. Thank you for your question and for being connected, and we'll find, connect and find our tribe. And I feel the same way. I'm like, I don't really want to have strong opinions on things. I don't feel that I have very strong opinions on things besides like the things I really love, like nature and spirituality, but even so, like I would never try to shove it down anyone's throat or like preach to them or convince too much, because I just don't think that works as a tactic. I just think you can share what you share and plant seeds, and if it resonates with people, they'll eventually hear the truth. But I don't think it's super valuable to have like a strong divisive opinion either, and I think people are getting tired of it. So you'll probably stand out because you're not talking that way and you're coming from this gentler place. And that's what I like to come from too, this gentler place of love and light and harmony and what we can agree on, and lifting one another up. And again, supporting each other from this place of overflow. Our own cups are overflowing, and then we have generosity to give to others. So keep going. I encourage you. Take those daily actions and everything will work out. Okay, I'm going to try to do the last ones a bit quicker, but this is fun. On the body and inspiration, number 3, you shared that you started going to the gym this year. As a fellow newbie gym girly, I would love to know more about how you learned what to do and how you built your workout program. Great question. So multiple things. I used to not really go to the gym to strength train. I would go to Pilates, and by that, I don't mean mat Pilates, even though mat Pilates and yoga is great. I mean reformer Pilates. So reformer Pilates, you are on the machine, and you are dealing with weight. There's spring tension, and then you're pulling your body weight. So it is still considered strength training, but I was dealing with this neck and shoulder pain for some years, and it was affecting my sleep many nights of the week. And so my husband was like, you've got to do something about this. And luckily, because he's in the Coast Guard, we have health insurance that covers physical therapy. So in January, I went to my PCP and I got a physical therapy referral for 12 sessions. And this was so helpful. I was like, thank God, this was really the breakthrough that I needed, because the PTs looked at my situation and they were like, you have a mild form of upper cross syndrome, which is this kind of forward rounded neck pain thing, and that's very common nowadays with people being over their desks, tech neck. Even though I was this girl who stretched, who did Pilates, who thought she had good posture because I'm doing like this sort of stuff in Pilates, I thought like that I'm strong, I'm fit, and I felt strong and fit in many ways, but they said you have to train your upper back. And I was like, okay, cool. I guess I haven't trained my upper back in the past. So if you're feeling pain anywhere, I would encourage you, if you can go to physical therapy, because they know the body so well and they'll give you direct targeted answers. Like I had gone to massage in the past for this pain, and one of the masseuses said to me like, well, if you don't strengthen and train it, she said, if you don't strengthen it, the pain won't go away. And I was like, okay. But I continued with what I was doing, Pilates and walking mostly. And I thought Pilates would target it, and Pilates did target other parts of my back, but again, not the upper back. And I wish that massage therapist had been able to say like specifically which muscles. Years later, now I'm going to PT, and the PT is literally pressing on my back, and she's like, this muscle you need to engage, can you feel it? And I'm like trying to feel that muscle and grow. She's like, you need to grow that muscle. And it's a couple muscles that are really important, like the serratus anterior and the I forget the other one, but like a small mid-back muscle right behind the scapula. And they told me the specific exercises that I needed to do, and 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in, it feels so much better. So I started going to the gym twice a week to do pull days, so lat pull downs and rows. Now I do that 2 or 3 times a week, and it's helped my back so much, and the pain is gone. And I've had 8 sessions of physical therapy, maybe 9, but I have 12 total, and it's just great. And I went yesterday, and my PT, who's so sweet, Neela, she was like, you've made fantastic progress. She was like, your scapula is not winging as much, your shoulders is not winging, and I can see that you've engaged that muscle. So when you start strength training, eat enough protein, don't be in too much of a deficit. Like, I tried to be in a deficit some days, but honestly not very many, because you want maintenance to build the muscle and get stronger. And I just feel so much better. Like, I'm really glad the pain is gone. So what I did, honestly, and this feels funny to share because I think I'm at a point where I'm going to work on using AI tools less, because it's not good for the environment, and it's just, there's so many things with it that I don't like about the AI companies. But to not get into that, I did use Claude, and I described my issue, I described the notes from my PT, and I described my dream body: strong, lithe, kind of fairy looking, but like strong, you know, like a ballerina or something. And that's always been my goal. That's why I did Pilates. Pilates is rehab for ballerinas, so I wanted to maintain that shape. A lot of people are afraid that if they go to the gym, they'll get bulky, but you won't get bulky unless you are like seriously consuming more with your calories and trying to bulk. So strength training will not bulk you up. You're safe to go to the gym, and it's actually really, really great for you. Again, I started out, Claude made this whole program for me, which was great because I didn't exactly know. I was like, I used to go and do the full body workouts because Pilates is like a full body workout, and I would be able to do that twice a week. But now that I'm going to the gym and doing specific parts of the body, I can weight train and do lifting 4 to 5 days a week. So Claude made me a schedule for a pull day, 2 glutes days. Yeah, I started out with like glute day, pull day, glute day, pull day. And then I added in April, a push day, which was hard for me because of the shoulder thing, but like that's been a good adjustment. I'm able to like push and do things now. And a leg day, another like compound leg day. And it's been great. So now I'm strength training like 5 to 6 days a week. And if you want my specific plan for the like fairy girl summer bod that I'm working on, just send me a comment, send me a message, and I'm happy to send you that document. But honestly, I described it to Claude. It built out a program. I asked questions if I had questions, and then I double checked it with my PT. I talked with her about it, and I actually sent it to her, and she was like, yeah, this looks great. And she was like, did you make this yourself? And I was like, I prompted it. I was like, I talked with Claude about it, and Claude made it. And you know, these AI tools, they're pulling from the internet. So Claude pulled from the best, probably, pro trainers stuff on the internet for what I wanted, which is like a tapered back and a tiny waist and rounded glutes and, you know, all that. So yeah, that's how I built my workout program. Hope that's helpful. Best of luck. Enjoy it. And you're going to love it. It feels great. Number 4, what do you do when you feel a lack of inspiration? Oh, and number 5 goes hand in hand, so I'm going to answer them together. What do you do when you feel so inspired and you're being pulled in too many directions? So I really think that this all comes down to your energetic state. if you are tired, depleted, or at least for me personally, I can tell if I'm feeling a lack of inspiration that it's usually a deeper thing of just, I need some rest. I need maybe to move. I need to change it up a little bit. But usually it's like, I need rest, I need a good meal, I need a good 9 hours of sleep, and then the inspiration comes back the next day. It's not often that I feel in a funk for multiple days or weeks, but I can think back to like in the past, especially some depressive episodes in college or in lockdown when I lived in Paris. If I felt lack of inspiration, I would turn towards my relationships, turn towards the people I love, tell them how I was feeling, write about it, write out my feelings, maybe watch a good movie, listen to music. I think that consuming art and really being intentional with curating the art that you take in is important. And being on social media, like, I curate what I consume a lot. If I see something that I don't like, I pretty quickly go away from it, and I follow artists who inspire me. So I think there's so many places to find inspiration, and you can kind of go through this phase of seeking it out. You know, sometimes there's output days where you're creating, and there's input days where maybe you just purely want input. For me, often it's a balance of both, where I have music and writing, and I'm inputting some things, like some social media creators that I like to check in on most days, but then I'm also creating myself and sharing online. And so usually every day for me is mostly balanced of input and output. But, cute little kitten. That's my other cat. If I am really, oh my god, she's so cute. If I am, again, feeling that lack of inspiration, I would encourage you to allow yourself to have more of an input day and just be like, chill. I don't have to create anything today. I can just watch a movie and take good care of myself and rest and trust that it will come to me again the next day. And say your prayer and say to your guides and your angels, like, please help me feel inspired and motivated and give me the energy to do this thing tomorrow. That's often what I do. Like, if I need to redirect the energy, I do. If I need to move it to the next day, hopefully there's grace and space for that. If you have like a work deadline, I really like green tea and chocolate. You might like coffee, a little jumping jacks outside, a little movement, a little hype music, whatever to like raise your energy. Use the Pomodoro timer technique, 25 minutes focused work, 5-minute break, movement, get back to it. Like, you are so strong, your body is so resilient, you can push through it on those days. Like, I know there's been days where maybe my sleep was disrupted, and then I still had to create and do something and show up for work. And you do get through it. And what I always tell myself in that situation too is I just say, like, I'm going to use my energy today, and I'm going to fall asleep so easy tonight and sleep so great tonight, and then be well rested for the next day. So many ways to find inspiration: talking with people, expressing yourself, consuming art, music, film, all that. And asking your guides, you know, going and sitting outside in nature and just opening your mind and your heart, and you can say, like, I'm open, I'm willing to receive inspiration. Please send me a divine download, God, and something will come, whether it's in the moment or later. You can just trust and believe that an answer or divine inspiration will come to you, because that's how it works. When you become an open channel, the answers and the inspiration does come to you. Flip side of the question, I love this. What do you do when you feel so inspired you're being pulled in too many directions? This often happens to me. And, you know, my post last week on Substack kind of had a bit of this in it. I did a free write, and I wrote out all the things I'm interested in the future, all the things I'm inspired by, so many interests. Like, I am working on my first book, publishing my first book. I also want to create and publish or produce my own music. I also would love to be involved in film adaptation. I love speaking, I love creating, I love being with groups. I think it would be so fun to design retreats and healing events. So I feel like so many diverse interests, but they're actually all connected on this shared mission and purpose, again, of like creating and sharing love through writing or art and relationships. So when you have so many things you're inspired about, I would encourage you to make a list and write them down just so they stop swirling in your mind and you feel like, okay, now I can choose a couple to move in a certain direction. I know that a lot of those I wrote down are future goals, and some of them happen in succession. Like, I want the film adaptation to happen, the book needs to be published first, you know? So write them all down and then maybe order them in terms of a 1-year goal, a 3-year goal, a 5-year goal. If you want to look out that far, maybe a 10-year goal. Yeah. And when you're inspired that much, just be grateful that it's happening. Write it down, voice note it, whatever you have to do, and embrace it because it's beautiful. And there's always these like mountains and valleys, moments of that. When you're that inspired, like there probably will be a dip a little bit later, possibly the next day. I sometimes deal with that where I'm like, oh, I'm so inspired that I don't know like where to start or which direction to go first, and I come back to my action items that I'm consistent on, and I come back to my priorities. And my coach Sarah, she talks about like the big 3. This is something I've integrated as well into my coaching practice. When you make out that list, come back to your big 3 goals for the year. And again, for me, it's the book. The book is a big 3 goal. Serving 100 clients is a big 3 goal, and speaking. So what actions can I take for those? And what actions can I put on my calendar for later for the other goals? Or could I research it a little bit now and dream on it and like manifest and script on it? But those are my actions now for my future move, manifesting my future move, or manifesting like a training program I want to do, or the film adaptation. Those things I'm planting the seeds of now and praying about it. But the physical actions I'm taking are for my top 3 goals. So yeah, write them all down, talk about it with people that you trust and love, and I'm happy for you. Okay, last 2 questions. Oh, and I'll just say, like, you're not being pulled in too many directions. That's another neuro-linguistic thing, where again, I felt that way sometimes, but instead you can switch that to, I'm so inspired. I have an abundance of inspiration. I'm so grateful. I get to write down all these ideas and action them. And so that's this shift I made last week as well, where I was like, okay, I'm not getting pulled. I have direction. My heart guides me. My heart has direction. I'm so grateful that I receive all this inspiration, and I receive guidance from God and my guides about which action is best to take next. And if you feel uncertain, meditate on it, pray, sleep on it, ask God, like, please guide me, please direct me, please make the path clear for me. Please show me the way. And you will get answers, because what comes with ease, the path will open to you. And whatever comes with ease, whatever your heart really wants to do, that's what will come next. Like, sometimes I have to pray, like, God, please give me the inspiration to write. Please guide me. Please tell me what to do next. And the next day, I'll get inspired. I'll start with a poem, maybe. I'll start with a certain prompt on my book. And once you've started and you're kind of in that action, then it's easier to turn towards the other part, like the harder stuff of revising and, you know, getting deeper into the work. So you're not getting pulled. You have direction, and what's guiding you, your direction is your heart, your mission, your passion. And it's great that you're so passionate. Okay, final 2 questions. This is so fun. On relationships and staying rooted. How do you maintain good relationships with friends and family when you live in another state? That's an important one. And that's something I've been dealing with since we moved up north, many states away from our families. 3 years ago. I like to call them a lot, and I voice message them fairly often, and we text a little bit. I'm not the biggest texter. I kind of prefer voice message and calling, but I definitely recommend reaching out, being the person that turns towards, right? Like I've talked about. And giving people options. Like some people prefer calls, some people prefer FaceTime, some people prefer text, some people prefer voice message. I love voice message because we can respond asynchronously and I can still hear your voice and connect, right? So communicate that with people. I've started like asking my extended family again, like how do you prefer to communicate? And I put things on my calendar. So I have a once a week FaceTime family, and that reminds me every Sunday to FaceTime someone. And I think more like quarterly I'm reaching out to my cousins, but honestly I would love that to be more like monthly and weekly. So set those goals for yourself and the frequency that you want, and set reminders and make it a priority, because relationships are the most valuable things in our lives. They're so valuable. Relationships, the quality of your relationships has such a direct impact on the quality of your life and your overall happiness, right? So it is important to maintain those relationships. The first year we did try to visit home every quarter, but this last year it hasn't worked out that way, so we visit, it's been twice a year. It's like December and June. And I make the most of that time when I'm there, so I get a bunch of work done before I go, and then I really lock in and spend quality time with my family, and I'm so excited. My birthday is in June. I'll be celebrating with my family and friends. So maintain those good relationships by having like frequent communication. When you visit back, make the most of that time. And I also love to share on LinkedIn and on socials and text people once in a while my Zoom Calendly link, and just be like, hey, we can text and call, but you can also schedule a 20-minute coffee connect call. I call mine like hot tea with Sophie because I'm a tea drinker, and I'm like, I just want to catch up and chat and like hear how your life is. And it is kind of a strange feeling when maybe you haven't talked to someone in like a year or 6 months, but me and my friends come to our relationship with this belief and this trust that there's no hard feelings, and we're always like, we just pick up where we left off, and it's good feels, and it's like, I know you weren't trying to offend me or neglect me, I just know that we're both living busy lives, and now we've made time for each other to catch up. But then you can talk with people and be like, hey, I'd really love and appreciate if we can make the time to connect more frequently, because it feels weird to only catch up like once a year to me. So I'm going to send you messages and reach out, and like that won't be a bother to you, right? And never has anyone ever told me like, please don't reach out, you know? So people love when you reach out. I encourage you to be that person, and it's so valuable. You know, people are like having kids and starting families and running and operating their own businesses and studying, and everyone is so busy, you know, but it is important, and everyone has a little bit of free time, like on the weekends, hopefully at least, they should be able to respond to your text. And if not, I do a cord cutting. If there's some friends that I feel like my feelings are getting a little hurt by their lack of response, I cleanse my energy in the shower. I say like, God, please release this feeling from me, this guilt or hurt or whatever. And you can do a cord cutting ceremony if that helps. It's really helpful to say like 3 things that are different about you and them. So I'm tall, I'm blonde, I'm whatever, and 3 things about them. That's kind of like a real simple cord cutting ceremony. And just to remove that separation, the unhealthy separation where you're feeling hurt. Send that person love and light and be like, we can still be connected in some way, but not in this way where I'm feeling hurt and lack of reciprocity. Cut that cord, cut the unhealthy connection, and again, trust and surrender it to God. I'm navigating that right now as well. That's with friends. With family, it's pretty good, and I think that you have agreements. You make agreements with people. So whether it's friends or family, and you want to have a conversation and make an agreement like, hey, I would appreciate if we talked at this frequency, or hey, I know it's been some years. I have some parts of my family where it is estranged a little bit, and I look forward to, I'm not sure if it will be an over the phone conversation, but I will, when I'm in person with them, be like, let's talk about the state of our relationship. And I'd love to be connected more and know what's going on in your life more, you know? And when you come at it with this very intentional and kind and understanding voice, and you say like, I understand, neither of us are trying to hurt each other in the past, but I would like to set a new norm, so I will reach out. People will love that, and you can kind of negotiate these new agreements, right? So again, relationships are the most important thing, and it's very valuable to do that work of defining the relationship and coming to agreements and spending quality time together and like loving on one another and encouraging one another and speaking life into one another. So I'm so grateful that my family, especially my immediate family, does that so much for me, and I'm able to do that for them. And I would just encourage you to keep doing it. Be the person that reaches out, because you don't want to be the person that regrets not reaching out, later. You don't want to have regrets. I'd rather put in the effort now than have any regrets later. So put in the effort. Last question. This is a very important one. I love it. How do you create a better relationship with yourself? I think that all the answers I've given and so many of the things I've said so far in this Q&A can serve as answers to that question. Like the things I believe, like fill your own cup to give and overflow to others. Follow your inspiration, follow your passion, tap in with your heart, feel your heart's desires, have faith, feel your guidance, find what you believe and follow it, find a place that you trust and trust it for a while, So in terms of creating a better relationship with yourself, it's another valuable relationship that you get to work on and have for your whole life. And it changes over time. I know my relationship with myself has changed a lot since I was a young person, especially since I was a teenager when I had a much less healthy and less loving relationship with myself. But I learned so many ways to connect with my higher self, my vision of my higher self. Again, connect with God and my guides. And I think you want to spend time asking and finding what you believe, reflect on what you believe and which beliefs support you in the attainment of your goals or your passions, and which beliefs support you to be healthy, happy, to be a thriving individual. That's so important. And then you use those beliefs to form your identity, and you tell yourself, I am this sort of person. I am an artist. I am a creative. I am a good speaker. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am a good friend. I am a sweetheart, And then you are believing better things about yourself, and you're coming from this place of identity, and you're creating from this place of identity, versus identities that you don't want to have anymore. You let them go. When you create a new habit, you can't really just erase a habit. You need to replace it with something else. So I'll use an example from my past. Like, I used to say, like, I hate my thighs. I feel big, whatever. Replace that with, like, I'm strong. I'm beautiful. I'm so grateful for my body, right? I love my body. You replace those limiting beliefs and beliefs that don't serve you with positive affirmations and positive beliefs. And this is another thing I offer, subconscious rewiring audios. These, it's a bundle like made specifically for you, using the affirmations that you've written in your voice. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. It's very valuable, helpful work, but it's also something you can do for yourself, morning and night, repeating those affirmations to yourself, meditating on them, and your brain will be rewired because your brain loves the consistency and loves to hear it in your voice, especially in a calm, regulated state. So I also love emotional freedom technique for this, using EFT to release emotions, fears, limitations that don't serve you, and then also using EFT to call in the new belief and tap on that new belief and integrate it. So this is all like integration work, shadow work, personal growth, self-love. And that's why my movement is called Step Into Love, because it just takes one choice, one decision, one action. If you feel out of alignment and out of love, you have the power and the agency to make that choice, to step back into love. And there's so many modalities with which you can do that. You can take a physical step, do a ritual, do EFT, give yourself something that you need, the self-care. So many ways to step into love. So I'll just try to wrap up and say, in terms of creating a better relationship with yourself, it comes down to knowing yourself, your identity, and the identity that you're working to create, the identity that you want to have. Again, knowing where you are and where you want to go, having that direction, knowing what you love, listing out like what you're passionate about, what you love, what your desires are, and letting that guide you. And then doing your best to live in alignment and give yourself grace if you're not. I think this is a common thing that teenagers and young people deal with. Like, if you're not in this state of alignment, it can feel really guilt-inducing, and it can feel like stress and misalignment. It doesn't feel great. So I guess I always said I wanted to be a writer, and if I didn't write for days or weeks, I would have this feeling of guilt, this heavy cloud just kind of over me. And so I changed my habits and instilled the habits so that I could be that consistent person, that writer, and believe in I did the identity work and the action work, and that all ties in. The more that you take the action, you build confidence, and your identity is strengthened, and it's this positive cycle. It's like this positively reinforcing loop. So to have that good relationship with yourself as well, you need to trust yourself and believe yourself. So you follow through with the action, and you do those things that you say that you care about, and you are true to yourself. And that just builds trust in yourself, and then others will know you better, trust you better, understand you better, because they see the true you. The truest version of you is the version of you that has a good relationship with yourself and honors it and respects it as the most valuable relationship in your life, because it's the baseline for all your other relationships, right? And all your other relationships are so important too, but your relationship with yourself and with God, that's the foundation. That's important work. And I hope this was really helpful, this whole thing, for establishing a good foundation, a good relationship with yourself and with others. And I'm feeling so lit up and passionate and happy and inspired now as a result of these questions. So thank you so sincerely for sending them to me. I hope you loved this, and I'd love to hear your feedback or any comments, anything you want to share really. Feel free to comment or send me a direct DM. I'm wishing you a beautiful, beautiful start to May, and so much alignment for you this month and this season. And let's just keep doing it. Let's keep blooming together. Let's grow and create and evolve, in positive transformation. And let's continue to shine bright, and again, fill our own cups and give in overflow and abundance and generosity to others, and serve our highest purposes. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve our highest purpose in love. Okay, let it be so. I send you peace and love.